But I mean, yeah, let us know what you guys think. It's okay if we think we're totally wrong. Let us know why. We want to know why. Don't just say we're stupid or trash or you guys are idiots. But give us a reason why, because that we're having a conversation, and let's chat about it and come resolve this problem and come up with a solution. That's what the really gist of this is. Yeah. But yeah, moving on. Let's go into the nominee for the Democratic Party, Alexandria.
Yes, Representative Alexandria Ocasio Cortez. Yeah. And then she's a member of the Democratic Socialists of America. So I have a quick little background, I guess.
Wait,
here.
is that party the same as Democrats?
No, it's its own party. Okay. Yeah, it's its own separate thing. Although, but she did run as she ran on the Democratic
that's what
ticket.
Okay.
So like she was elected as a Democrat, but she is a member of the Democratic Socialists.
Okay. That makes sense.
I think I'd have to double check. I think Bernie Sanders is as well. Also a member of the Democratic Socialists.
I'll double check that.
So Alexandria Ocasio Cortez, she is 28 years old. She won the primary for the 14th district in the state of New York, which is like Queens and the Bronx. She's 28 years old, graduated of Boston University, and she defeated incumbent Joseph Crowley in the primary election for the 14th district. She won, I believe it was 53-42 was the margin. The turnout, however, was super low. I think there were something like 300-ish thousand registered people that could have voted, and there were only 27,000 votes that were cast in the primary election. And she got about, I think, 17,000 or so, 17,000 of those. So it was a pretty low turnout, but nonetheless, she won her primary, so she's going to represent the Democratic Party in the midterm elections there. So like we said, she's a member of the Democratic Socialists of America, which is a socialist party in the United States. They have about 35,000 active members, or like due-paying members. Which is not a lot. I mean, I'm sure if there was a white nationalist party or something like that, there'd probably be more than 35,000.
They're probably similar numbers.
So I went through, I went onto the DSA website and read about their party platform. So I pulled some quotes off of their website so you guys can get an idea of the topics that are important to them and like kind of what they stand for as a party. And then I went through and I kind of pulled some bullet points about. We'll talk later about Alexandria herself and like what she's proposing and stuff like that. So I'll start with the Democratic Socialists of America. So they have three major topics that are in their party platforms. So the first one is Medicare for all. The second one is strong unions. The third one is electoral power. So I pulled one quote for each one of these. So for Medicare for all, this is kind of their stance. They say that, quote, healthcare is a huge segment of our economy, and healthcare access is a deeply and widely felt need. In the capitalist system, you have to pay to get care or go without, and under a democratic socialist system, we would collectively provide care as a society. Medicare for all is a stepping stone towards that vision, and our campaign is designed to build a working class base of people fighting for state and national power. So basically they want like subsidized healthcare that's paid for, like everyone, like taxpayer dollars pay for everyone's healthcare.
Yeah.
Basically, that sort of thing. So the second point was strong unions, which is kind of relevant to the Supreme Court case, which is why I picked the Supreme Court case that I did for this. So strong unions. Their quote on this is that capitalism pits us against each other and workplaces are fundamentally authoritarian unless workers can self-organize and build collective power. This is why people build unions and why employers undermine them. It's also why the capitalists as a class constantly work to undermine unions and promote narratives about unions that frame them as unnecessary, undemocratic, or ineffective. We are forming a national project to fight back and build power in the economy, since outside of Wall Street, workplaces are the places where the owning class extract resources from the working class. I think that last sentence is like really important. They kind of take much more of a cynical approach to business owners and employers, like extracting resources from the working class as if they're like crops.
Well, I mean, that's the way they describe it right there.
Yeah, basically. And then the last thing is about electoral power, and this is why I thought that Bernie Sanders was possibly a member as well. So it says, quote, Bernie Sanders launched a political revolution, and we're continuing to build it, supporting Democrat socialist candidates running for local and state office. We're also grappling with how to build independent political power to hold candidates we elect and others accountable to their constituents rather than the donor class. I honestly don't really know that I disagree with at least the premise of that. Like, I obviously, and we'll go through a little bit more of like Alexandria's stance, and then this other group called Social Alternative that is kind of an alliance with them. But I do feel like that politicians these days are not doing a good job of representing their constituents. I think it's just become
almost like
it's a career now for
the
people.
way we look at unions.
Yeah, I guess kind of. They're just like, they aren't doing what they're supposed to. The job has changed. It's not,
it's a career.
like, we still elect people, but they oftentimes it feels like,
when you look at like politicians original, like they had their own businesses, and like they did they did their business manner, and then they also were in Congress for some states, for some people, and then eventually it just became a job because there was actually a lot of work into it. There was a lot of arguing, there was a lot of bickering, there was a lot of lobbying, there's a lot of that, so like it became a full career basically. Especially in like what was the year they increased the salary? It was pretty recent.
In California, it was just a couple years ago, wasn't it?
No, I meant like in Congress.
Oh.
That's what I meant.
I don't remember.
Yeah, because there was like there's an amendment.
A constitutional amendment?
I think there was.
I'd be surprised. Because it would
I have to double check, because I remember like looking
on.
I have to double check. I'm not saying like I'm right.
I know that they did increase their salary.
I know they increased it.
I don't think it was a constitutional amendment.
Either that or it was in the Constitution itself, not in the amendment, not in the bill.
Okay. All right.
That's what I'm thinking.
So then the Democratic Socialists of America, I guess it's a party that's actually been around longer than you'd think. So they had kind of a early like period in like the 60s, 70s, and then they kind of went away for a while, and then they created what's called the Refoundation Principles, and so they have an alliance with a few other alliance. I guess I don't know if that's the right word to use, but with other similarly minded groups, and one of them is called Socialist Alternative, and so when they put out this article basically giving their stance on the DSA's Refoundation Principles, and I pulled a pretty big quote out of this, but I think it's, to me anyway, pretty scary, like just kind of like this is the thought process that's like in American politics right now. So this is what they have to say. Socialist alternatives, successful electoral campaigns, movement organizing, and union work flows from our understanding of Marxism, our class struggle tactics and strategy, and our recognition of the urgent need to end capitalism internationally and replace it with a socialist society. The recent bitter experience of the Syriza government in Greece has once again illustrated that without a clear break with capitalism, left governments, meaning like left on the political scale, like even like liberal governments, left governments will either fail or end up carrying out capitalist bidding. The working class is the key force that can end capitalism. Socialists must connect the day-to-day struggles of working people with concrete demands to not only improve our conditions now, but also to fundamentally transform society. Socialist Alternative calls for the taking of the top 500 corporations into public ownership to be democratically run by working people in their interests rather than for the greed of the few. We cannot solve the problems of massive inequality, poverty, and environmental crisis under a dictatorship of Wall Street, because we cannot control what we do not own. Flowing from this, we see the need for a cohesive group with clear ideas, working in solidarity with revolutionary socialists internationally, with whom we can share lessons from and develop a common analysis and plan of action. So,
okay, first off, that's not the DSA saying this, by the way.
That is not the
it's not the
DSA saying that. It's Socialist Alternative. It's a different group, but a group that is in some ways aligned with the DSA.
That's a lot of that just sounds weird. I would want to look at. I've watched a couple of things on the Greece government stuff. I want to research that a little bit more and see where they're coming from on that. I'm not gonna say like, oh my god, these guys are like crazy. Oh yeah. doing my Alex Jones impression.
I think they're pretty crazy.
Like in the sense, like I'm like I get where they're coming from because I get what they're saying. I understand why they're saying it. Is what I'm saying. And like to me, I'm like, okay, like, oh god, here's the crazy guys on the left, but like, in the sense for me, like when people complain about like Nazis and stuff, I'm like, these people don't have like legitimate power. They have somewhat influences because I feel like at the moment that the left is moving towards that a little bit too much, and like the basis of it because of the way how much room like the left has in the media. And how much air they give. And when you think about that, it's kind of scary like that. But I don't think this kind of ideas and ideologies will really kind of stick into people's heads because of people on, not just on the right, there's people on the left that will probably defend or argue with these kind of people, and also people in the middle that would argue with these kind of people.
Yeah.
To make these people not relevant or have some kind of say, but it's unfortunate that minorities don't get a say sometimes. But like this is just like a little too much, and I think with the one where it said the 500 corporations, that one stuck out, and like taking over that, I'm like, no, that's just not how it works. Because like how. I mean, you could even say what Obama said, like, you didn't build that. Like, when he talks about that, like, you see that building, you didn't build that. I don't know the direct quote, but you know when he says that, or when he said that. Like,
Yeah.
I think it was, like, in between his second, or maybe right before his second run. But, like, saying like that, like you don't own that, because you didn't build it, so that's not yours. Like, it's as simple as it. If you don't like it, that's too bad, then do it yourself. And the idea, I mean, it'd be nice to give someone health care like that. Yeah, it'd be nice to do that. But it doesn't say that in the Constitution. It doesn't say that we have to, like, do that in the sense of being, humans, having, like, humanity. Because I don't think we're at that point yet where we're able to even do that. And that's why I think that a lot of the point is that the left doesn't understand that we don't have the capabilities of doing that. Right now, as it is, the amount of money we get from what the federal budget is, like it's already at the amount of our debt, and like that's scarier than what they're saying. I think, like I think that's scarier.
Okay, I understand what you're saying.
But what I think is that we're giving these people too much air when they shouldn't have air in the first place. But the way the internet works, the way the media works now, you do give these people air, and I'm not saying there's stupid people out there, but there's someone that says, like, yeah, like we should own those corporations. There's someone because like it's a personal thing, and I watched a Vice documentary on some these Nazis and like these KKK members, the white supremacists, and how the guy only is really a white supremacist because his wife cheated on him with a black guy. Really, that's what the gist of it was. And like I think that's like a lot of these reasons and like why they're talking like this, because some of those guys got screwed.
You think they're like jaded?
In a way, yeah, and they infect other people because they talk about their personal experience, and like it makes those people like
as an emotional.
Yeah, and I think that's another thing too. We can't. There's the unfortunate thing is that you cannot respond emotionally in any kind of situation professionally. I think, regardless of the situation. I mean, maybe yes, when children pass away, yes, that's very emotional, but you can't use that as a tool to persuade opinion in a sense to gain power. I don't think that's right, because then now you're using children as a tool for power. I don't think that's fair. And there's definitely politicians that use that tactic purposely, and not. There's probably some that don't. Obviously, they're actually coming from the heart, but there's definitely people out there that they know what they're doing. So like, it's weird to I don't know. My full thing to say is, or my last thing as a result, is that these people should have no power in government. People should stop listening to them because they are not reasonable. Just like white supremacists, I don't think they're reasonable people. I don't think there's minority groups that talk about how they want to kill white people and stuff. I don't think that's reasonable. They want to enslave white people. That's a stupid idea. Look, my best friend's white. Like I don't if you can't sit down with a person and have like a conversation with them just because you hate their skin color, there's something wrong with you. Like, but the people like this that are unreasonable, that I think a lot of it is a lot of emotions, a lot of personal things that happen to them, and that's why they want it to be. That's why they're pushing this kind of agenda. But the fact of the matter is that they're not right. If you can try to use examples of socialism that works in the country or in other countries, but I don't think it'll ever work in the United States, unless for some reason we have like rain sucking things on our head that changes our minds. And I mean that's like
I see where you're coming from about them not having like any sort of political power, at least at the moment.
Yeah,
I think that the first point that I would make is that none of these people, like Bernie Sanders, Alexandria Ocasio Cortez, any of the people in the DSA, whatever, like none of them came up in socialist societies. Like the socialist alternative, like bringing up like that all of their successful electoral campaigns flows from their understanding of Marxism. Like Marxism is responsible for the death of more people in the world than any other single thing besides old age.
Yeah, I would. I don't know.
Like hundreds,
civil wars in
million,
China, maybe
100 million people in the Soviet Union.
Yeah.
China,
North
Venezuela, North Korea,
Cuba.
Yeah, Cuba. Like there's all sorts of examples of like socialist states going like wrong, and like they're very oppressive and like aggressive towards their own people. And so like right off the bat, like that's what I would say. Like none of these people come, like all these things, like you said, it sounds great. Like I would love to have free college education. Like I'm paying my student loans right now.
Yeah.
Like I would have loved to have gone for college
For free.
I like having free healthcare. Like but it's not realistic. I think where you and I differ as far as level of concern.
Oh, I'm concerned. I just don't want them to be hurt.
Right, but it's like it's only going to get where, like, I don't know. I'm a registered Republican, and like I feel that Democrats are sprinting much quicker towards socialism than anyone on the right is sprinting towards like white supremacy or Nazis or whatever you want to call it.
Even though they want to make that case, but it's not true.
Like they don't have people like Alexandria Ocasio Cortez, who like she's gonna win the midterm election.
Most likely.
Again, she's up against a Republican and an independent. She's gonna win that, but if like say the next presidential election, Alexandria Ocasio Cortez is up against Donald Trump, which honestly I don't know how. I think that's actually more likely than you might think, but I'm saying it's like 5% chance instead of 2.5%. Not like this is what's going to happen, but like I think it's actually more likely that is going to happen than people might think. But like she believes what she believes, and we'll go through that in just a second, like her points. But like, so she's a card-carrying member of the Democratic Socialists of America, and she's running for president against Donald Trump. Like she's going to get 45% of the vote at a minimum. Like that's what's scary to me.
Like on the Democratic ticket,
because it's so polarized right now. Like everyone like you're either right. Like obviously there are a lot of people in the middle that feel very disenfranchised is not the right word, but like they don't associate with either side.
Yeah.
And like they don't like what either side is doing. But it's so polarized right now that someone like her or someone like Bernie Sanders even, who is like kind of the originator of a lot of these ideas, at least in American politics, recent American politics, that if you put them up against someone like Donald Trump, like the Democrats are going to vote for the Democrat regardless of the fact that she's a socialist. That's because they don't want to vote for a because Republican. They won't vote for the Republican. That's what concerns me. Like they could come to power in like one election cycle, just depending on how like if something like that plays out. Like I believe like tomorrow, if you held an election, she would beat Donald Trump in an election.
Okay, I think.
And now you have a socialist in the White House.
I think too to look at it. I had a conversation with a guy on Colin's page for Colin's Last Stand. It was about the Antifa and Donald Trump. I think Make America Great guys had like little street fight, and like how a lot of it's being pushed that there's some kind of civil war coming. I don't. If it is, I don't.
Civil war, by the way, that the left would lose.
Yeah, well,
because we have all the
people
on the right have all the guns.
Yeah, I mean the military. A lot of them, most people in the military are on the right as well.
Yeah.
Regardless, I mean, yeah, that's going to be tilted real bad. But I don't think if there's some kind of civil war, it's not going to be in our lifetime. If there is, for some reason, my argument is that we're seeing the microscope. I think Joe Rogan said this before. The microscope is on the small amount of people, and there's a lot of movements that have happened in the United States that have just fizzled out because it just doesn't work. And I think this is one of those things that just is not going to work. I think if Bernie Sanders runs in 2020, I think he's going to lose. I just think him having debates with Donald Trump just needs someone in his ear just ask him hard questions, and that's it. Or really challenge him.
Yeah.
And to really debunk the socialist kind of movement. And what I mean is like when the conversation I had was like how it's being perceived that there's some kind of civil war coming, and we're seeing like all this violence. What I'm saying is a lot of this stuff is like where's most of the stuff happening? Cities like Portland, Berkeley,
and on Twitter.
Yeah, on Twitter, obviously. But I'm saying like the bigger ones that are like these big, like not big, but like these little altercations where people are like fist fighting and hitting each other with bats.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff is not happening in the middle of the country. Well, not that it matters to them, but there's a lot of people that are going to waste their time going out there and beating up people because they got better things to do. And my thing is, there's going to be things like that's going to happen. The news is going to want to look at it and show you it because it's like, whoa, we got ratings because like the people love fighting. I mean, look at the UFC.
Yeah.
So like I think it's that element of that, and I think it's just the idea of making these groups bigger than they are. And I don't think Antifa's that big. I would have to check how many registered members they have. I don't think the DSA is not big. White supremacists aren't big, and I don't think they'll probably get power in some kind of way because they're going to run on like she's running a Democratic ticket. There was a Nazi guy, a white supremacist guy that ran on a Republican ticket just because he could only get on the ticket with that.
Right. Yeah.
But I think what I thought was going to happen in the last election was going to get a third party, but we didn't because Gary Johnson doesn't know how to talk on TV. But regardless, I think we're going to be moving in that direction to where people just don't want to hear either side, and they're just going to get the guy that's in the middle. And that's all they really need to do is have one reasonable guy in the middle that has, it's kind of not a libertarian, but like has some leftist views, have some rightist views in the middle, and like is really a centrist. I think it's all that'll kind of just like not those groups will still exist. I mean, the KKK still exists. Yeah. Like the phenomenon back in like the 50s and back after the Civil War, how like the numbers grew and they went down. So I think that's what it is. These numbers will grow, fizzle out. I mean, like you said, a lot of these guys grew up in capitalist societies. I hate those kids that are like there's always those kids that like they like the thing that's not cool, like is right or not right. It's what their parents don't like. I think that's what it is too. It's like Che Guevara shirts. Like I don't know why people wear those shirts. Read some history on that.
Yeah.
And where they wear like communist shirts and stuff. Or they're wearing like I don't know what other communist shirts I can talk about. Like you're just going against the grain because you want to be cool. I think that's what it is too. And like there's a lot of those guys out there that are weird. And like a lot of people want a civil war, but it's only I feel like it's a small group.
A lot of vocal people.
Yeah.
Some like a very vocal minority.
Yeah. And like when you look at too, like in that thread that we're looking at, it's only people that want to talk about politics. Not everyone wants to talk about politics. Yeah. My sister Jessica, she don't want to talk anything about politics. She wants to talk about how she got her nails done and her hair. I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but that's the thing. Like the only people that are talking about this are people that are interested in this. Yes, we get some people you'll bring in, like when you see the World Cup, all the World Cup, like it's a spectacle.
Yeah.
This looks interesting, and then there's going to be a small amount of people out of that small amount of people that's always going to pay attention that actually goes and do something. So I think there's not going to be any kind of civil war. I think the left, once someone on the left's going to be like, this is a bad idea, guys. All right, first off. But I think even after the Civil War, if there was, I think Republicans would be reasonable. Like, all right, get back up, left, and do whatever. Go back to not go back to the way you want it, but like we're not gonna outlaw all their views or like that. I think we're just gonna like make them sound stupid because like, look, we fought this war. It's a stupid idea.
Yeah. Let's move real quick into like Alexandria Cortez herself. So like I said before, she's 28 years old, graduate of Boston University. She worked for Senator Ted Kennedy before he passed away, and then she worked on the Bernie Sanders campaign, the presidential campaign in 2016. There's a little bit of controversy over the last week or so about where she's actually from, because she puts out this. She actually changed her Twitter, not summary.
Description?
Yeah, whatever it is. That like little like few sentences that you get at the top of your Twitter page. She eliminated the part about like her being from the Bronx. Like the controversy is that she like grew up and went to school in Yorkshire, but like she claims to be like regular person from the Bronx, like sort of thing. But like she actually grew up in some level of like an affluent neighborhood.
Yeah,
that sort of thing. So there's a little bit of controversy there. She worked on the Bernie Sanders presidential campaign. I said that one. So like these are a few of kind of her publicly stated positions. So very similar to the DSA itself. She wants Medicare for all. She's advocating for a $15 minimum wage, federal legalization of marijuana, the abolishment of ICE, which is Immigration and Customs Enforcement. And she had a couple of quotes that I pulled from like various interviews and stuff that she's done about that, and I think I pulled one of these also off of her website. So it says that the Immigration and Customs Enforcement Agency was created in 2003 in the same suite of post 9/11 legislation as the Patriot Act and the Iraq War. Its founding was part of an unchecked expansion of executive powers that led to the widespread erosion of American civil rights. ICE operates outside the scope of the Justice Department and is unaccountable to our nation's standards of due process. And then she says that the separation and detention of children is an international human rights abuse. And I'll just finish going through her things that we could talk about, whichever ones of these you want to talk about. She's advocating for a federal jobs guarantee so that there's no unemployment. The government will always have a job for you. I think it's crazy. I know it's possible. She wants tuition-free public schools and trade schools. And she said that so she was asked on MSNBC like how all these things were going to be paid for. And she said that understand that the federal government does have the ability, in a similar way that we had in the New Deal, which was a policy in the Depression under FDR, to spearhead some of this agenda and some of that financing as well. So like, she didn't really answer the question. She just said like, oh, Congress can handle it, kind of thing. There wasn't like any sort of. She didn't give any specifics anyway as to like what she would cut if she would like. She's going to raise. She would raise taxes. She has said that. So yeah, so like basically those are like some of her main kind of platforms. The one that like concerns me the most is about ICE, I think, especially because she says that like that ICE has led to the widespread erosion of American civil rights, and like my first gut reaction to that is that ICE doesn't hardly ever deal with American citizens. Like nothing that ICE does has anything to do with American citizens.
The only time it does is when like American citizens actually sneak them over.
If it's like an aiding and abetting.
Yeah.
But other than that, they're dealing with people who are here illegally and do not have any rights under the American Constitution because they are not an American citizen.
This even goes to like when people are complaining about kids being like not like they're in the courtroom and they have the headphones on. I'm like, who's gonna represent them? Like what? They're not citizens. I don't understand.
Yeah.
Like what? Like how is this a thing? Like you're using children now. What? The federal jobs guarantee is one that you can't employ everyone in the United States. That's why you have the private sector to employ as many people. There's any unemployment.
And in economics, there's actually like I think it's 2%, but there's actually like a healthy level of unemployment because it creates like a little bit of turnover. You can't have it where there's like no available work. Like everyone already has a job.
I don't think that's possible though.
Kind of. Well, I mean, it would cost like a lot. Ben Shapiro talked about this a little bit.
I'm saying it's not possible because we don't have the money for it.
Well, yeah, I mean, but like, how would we pay for any of it? Like free college tuition for universities and trade schools, federal jobs, which would, I assume, guarantee at least a $15 minimum wage, Medicare for everyone, the abolishment of ICE, which means we would have a huge swath of like illegal immigration, and we'd have to like welfare, healthcare for all of those people as well. So, like there's like without raising taxes absurdly, or making a bunch of really big cuts. Like, there is no way to pay for this anyway. Like, any of this stuff. Like, that's the problem with socialism.
Yeah, well, I think they would say, oh, there's money, we can cut the military. I'm like, there's no way you're going to touch the military budget, first off. You know, we deploy it for, I think, 3 million people in the military?
Yeah, it's somewhere up there, yeah.
First off, that. And the way you don't know history and why we're in those certain countries like Japan and Germany, we have bases there in Korea. Like, yes, it costs a lot of money, but like, we're there for a specific reason. And that's because I'm not going to be a dick to any other country in the world, but I think we have the best intentions as in the sense of like, you know, freedom of speech and whatnot. I think us being there is more important than because of not allowing that to happen again. But I'm not saying it's more important than free education. It's just like we won't have free education if we can't make sure that people are sane and people won't get into power that shouldn't be in power. You know?
I understand what you're saying.
But like, I know that argument that probably didn't sound good, but regardless, like, the military budget is not going to be touched. Like, I don't care. Like, that's going to stay the way it is. I mean, you can probably lower it. Maybe you can have, like, military offices like refurnishing their.
That's what I would say. So like, I know people like who are in like even like the National Guard and stuff.
Yeah,
like that.
we know that
they intentionally spend their budgets because if they don't spend the money, it's like that amount. Like, say they have a budget of $100 million. They only spend 90 of it for things that they actually need.
They get 90 next year.
Next year they only get 90, so they're going to spend
maybe even less.
Right. So next year so this year they're going to spend all that $100 million. Yeah. So next year they can say, hey, we need $100 million. I think that sort of thing. I fully understand the benefits of us maintaining our military and all of those, and like keeping bases around the world that has a huge logistical significance. And just kind of emotional is not the right word, but psychological maybe, for just a deterrent for anyone to do anything nefarious, like almost anywhere in the world, because we can be there. We can be there in the hour. Like,
yeah, I mean,
U.S. military will be there.
We're the world. I mean, if you look at it, we are the world police. And like when people say like, who are we gonna fight? I'm like, you don't know.
That's right. Don't know. You got to be prepared for whatever.
You do not know, because like we live so good in the country that like we don't have to deal with that. And like that's why we're there, so we don't have to deal with it. And it's a future thing too. It's like, do you care about your kids then? Like, then are you gonna take that away and then maybe create a void so your kids now have to take care of it? So it's like, look at that.
Yeah.
Another thing too I was gonna say is oh god, that one no, like maybe even looking at it to where like, all right, we'll give you $100 million every year. If you don't use it all, then we'll just take it back, and then like not have to like. I think we maybe need to change that. Maybe we can get some money back that way.
That's what I was gonna say is like, so like I understand the need of maintaining a certain level of military spending, but you can't deny that there is some pretty egregious wasting of money going on in probably not even just the military, like all of the branches of the government.
I think we just need to be able to do that to where we don't take money away. Maybe we look at it and look, okay, we will give you the same amount, and then maybe 2 or 3 years, and you're still getting the same, like you're getting a decreased amount. Then maybe they'll drop the budget. But I don't think like the reaction of it becoming, of it going down the next year. I think maybe like a 5-year. We'll look at it in 5 years and see what you guys.
I think it should just be gradual. Like say like next year it's 2% less, and the year after that it's 2% less.
No, because then I think you give it like. You don't start taking the money away, because I feel like you should be able to take bigger chunks of it away later on. And there's probably like people that have already tried to introduce this idea, and we're like, we think we're original thinkers of this, but like,
well, they haven't implemented that idea.
Well, yeah, but I think it should, because then that debunks like the military budget, and like that gives us money back. But I don't think that money should be given to like people for college. I think that money should be used for the next year's budget, or go into the debt. And I think. What I think liberals don't look at, or people on the left, is that like I think we need to take care of that before we start taking care of free education, free this, free that.
Yeah.
If we do that, then okay, maybe I might be open to it. But then we have to figure out how that's going to work.
Right.
But let's get that down to a reasonable amount, because we're at the amount where our federal budget is at that amount. That's crazy. I'm scared of that. I'm scared for that because of my kids and their kids. And I think if like people aren't afraid of that, then I think we have other problems besides giving people free education and allowing people to come into the country and other stuff. Because like, then if we don't have a government to run, then we can't. Then all this is gone.
Yeah,
it's all wiped.
I think, like, kind of on that note, there was one more quote that I had that was on the very bottom of the page here that I missed.
Sorry, I'm going on tangents.
No, it's fine. It's fine. So she says here, this was in an interview she was on MSNBC. There's like a 15-minute like television spot with her, and one of the quotes that she had from that was that 2016. She was asked like how she got into this and like what made her run and that sort of thing. And so she said, in 2016 was a year of awakening for a lot of individuals. I found myself at the end of 2016 at Standing Rock. I found myself at Flint, Michigan, and I just felt like at this point we have nothing to lose. And like what kind of irked me a little bit at that was that we have plenty of stuff to lose. Like we have an economy to lose. We have our standing on the world stage to lose. We have like maybe from her point of view, I guess she was a little bit more desperate. Because like from her perspective, like she went down to the border and was at like one of the detention facilities, and like so maybe from her perspective she thinks that. Well, like she even said that like it's international human rights abuse like that's happening at the border, which I think is completely absurd. But I just feel like I wholeheartedly disagree with that last quote. Like we have everything to lose by implementing a socialist government.
Well, yeah, I think also a lot of other countries look at us and like that idea of like, oh, they're doing socialism, well, let's do that kind of in a way. It's working for them, and look how good they got it. Yeah. But I mean, some countries don't do that because they're too corrupt and they don't know how to. I don't want to be a dick. They don't know how to govern themselves. Sorry, that's the way it is. I mean, look at how long look at other countries and look how their governments have collapsed and recollapsed. Like how long? I mean, we've been around since around
40-ish years.
Yeah, 40-ish years. And like we're probably since that time the longest running government. One of the longest running governments, I would say.
Probably.
Yeah.
Longest running democracy, for sure.
Exactly. Like, look at that. It's working. So why are we going to...
And that included, like, elections during the Civil War, elections during World War II, like, not that World War II, I guess, was, like, impacted us domestically as much as it did, like, the European countries, obviously. But like we've had like some pretty specifically the election during the Civil War. I think that
I don't know. It's weird. I think learning more, reading more, maybe not playing video games for an hour and reading a book maybe might help. Maybe not taking everything so personal might help. Maybe having thicker skin, and I don't know. It's weird because like I mean I was not active politically, obviously, before the 2016 election. I got read stuff. Voted for Mitt Romney. Thought it was a better choice in my head. And like I noticed things, but like not until probably I would say I got a little bit more active after 2016. I can agree with that. I can see what she's going through, what she's saying. I mean, I'm Native American, and Standing Rock's kind of hurts a little bit sometimes, but that's like another issue on its own, and I'm not too sure if she's Native American, so I guess I don't know if she's like taking that personally as well.
I don't know if she has any. She's Hispanic, I know that, but I don't know.
Yeah, Flint, Michigan's like I don't know.
That's the water.
Yeah, but that's like that's not even that's a Department of
Health, I guess.
Yeah.
Health and Human Services.
No, the one that that's the EPA right there.
Oh yeah.
So I mean that was under Obama.
I do think that even though I wholeheartedly disagree with most of her kind of positions, I think that I don't know, she's either a really good actress or like I believe that she genuinely wants that she genuinely, at least in her mind, has good intentions. I think because I feel like if you listen to her speak, she's saying that like just apart from her policy, like if you listen to her speak, she's saying that like she decided to run. Like she wanted, if you want to see change, like you have to like take it into your own hands and like become involved and get out into the community and stuff like that. And like all of those things are true regardless of your political beliefs. Like if you don't like what's going on, then you have to get involved. And like that's so. I mean, that's what she did, and props to her for that. Like I completely disagree with everything that she wants to do, but like congratulations on running a campaign that
works.
Like you ousted a 20-year representative
who was going to be the Speaker of the House,
who was like supposedly going to be the Speaker of the House or like the Senate Minority Leader
for the Democrats.
Yeah, like basically you ousted the successor to Nancy Pelosi. With like this kind of grassroots elections. I mean, like all credit to you for winning your election.
I think one thing to say too is like, yeah, she has good intentions. I think the left a lot of the times is they like want to bring up this whatever policy, but they want to do it because it's good, but they don't maybe they don't understand the sacrifice, or maybe they're not worried about the sacrifice of it. But I think when the right introduces something, they're showing you, but they're also showing you sacrifice in it as well. And like a lot of people don't like when you say like cut tax or not raise tax. Not I can't use an example at the moment, but you know what I mean. I feel like they say the sacrifice before the nice thing, like the opposite way is what I'm saying.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
I do understand what you're saying. I don't know that I can think of too many examples of that. But.
On the right, at the moment, I can't think. I have to like look at it, but like I say, like nothing on the right sometimes sounds good because there's sacrifice to it. In a way. And the stuff on the left sounds great, but the sacrifice sometimes isn't even. They're like, oh, wing it, in a way. Okay. Yeah. Well, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens. Yeah. Let us know. Tell us how much you disagree with us right now, please.
Yeah. Let us know your opinion of Alexandria. I guess let us know your opinion of the Democratic Socialists of America.
Yeah, let's find a solution. That's all. That's what I'm worried about. I just want solutions. I don't want to keep bickering and keep finger pointing and stuff. Let's just find some solutions. I don't care if it was under Trump, under Obama, under Bush. Let's fix it. Let's make. I mean, I don't want to say let's make change, but that's like the stupidest that's like the stupidest line ever now. It's like such a cliche, but let's actually do something. All right. Yeah, this is probably gonna be 2 parts, honestly. So, because this is really long. It's like 2 hours, I think.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Wow, I did not realize that. No, I'm sorry. I went on forever.
No, okay. So, 2 parts. All right. Anyways, that's been Pennsylvania Avenue. That's like our longest episode ever. I feel like this is like what it's gonna be eventually. Maybe we'll see. Let us know, what you think in general of all the things we talked about. Your stance. If you have cool evidence you want to lay down on us, and so we can learn. If you disagree with us, like I said, like I'm open to it, regardless of like what we said. I want to hear what you guys say, what you want to say about it. I think both of us want to hear, because I think it's better to interact with people that have different ideas, regardless of like if they agree with you on your political ideas, and it makes you a better person, and then you understand sides. I think it's better to understand than to just walk away or to try to change someone's mind. It's better just to understand and be able to walk away. But yeah, that's been Pennsylvania Ave again, guys. I've been Rich Rodeo.
I'm Jacob Bullard.
Go ahead and like the video. Go ahead and subscribe to the College Avenue channel, and go ahead and share this. And hopefully we don't get destroyed or something. So
we'll see.
I don't think this is gonna go viral, but whatever. Okay, cool. Maybe, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see you guys later.